Hey guys, Kyle Cordiana here. This is going to be my recap for my first top 30, my first weekend cut at Cumberland. This was stop number 4 out of Burnside, Kentucky. Awesome fishery. I've been there once before last year, so I got to learn just how awesome of a smallmouth fishery it was. This year was kind of unique. The state of Kentucky is considering doing some length limit changes on the lake. In the past, on Cumberland Lake, the smallmouth had to be 18 inches for them to keep, and that's how it was last year when we were there. They decided to do a study. They're going to do one big tournament, which was ours. They're going to do a small tournament down the road, and they're going to take a look at those fish and how those fish recover and how it affects and impacts the fishery. So they're doing it right. They're taking time to see what it takes if they kind of shrink down the size limit of those fish. So we had a 12-inch limit across the board, which changed the strategy of a lot of anglers, I believe. Wasn't going to change mine. I was going to chase the brown ones either way. So at first I was kind of like, darn it, that sucks. I'm going to take more guys from the largemouth and chase them for brown ones. But I really don't know if it did that or not, because the largemouth played a lot more this year than they did the previous year. Anyhow, just take a minute to show you guys what I caught them on, what worked for me. Basically the same stuff that worked for me last year, with the exception of I got on a jerkbait bite. So I was really only had 2 baits on the deck the entire time, which always makes the tournament fun when you only got 2 baits to throw. My main bait of choice was a swim bait. It was a white shad colored swim bait. 3, 4, 5-inch baits all worked really well. I was throwing them on a 1/4 ounce and a 3/8 ounce head. I tried some heavier heads, some 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce. Didn't seem to get bit as much. A slow retrieve seemed to be really, really important. On this swim bait, I love this rod for a smaller swim bait. This is a Kistler Helium 3. This is the 7'3" light, medium, heavy. This rod has a really soft tip to it. The whole rod's pretty parabolic, and it just works really good for these smaller swim baits. I can cast it a mile and feel it really good. I threw it with 15-pound Seagar in Vizex. This is fluorocarbon 15-pound line. I could have went a little lighter, but there's so many flooded sycamore trees in that lake that I was afraid of getting broke off. These smallmouth are mean, and they'll pull you down in there. So that was about as heavy line as I was comfortable with. I got a lot of bites doing it, so I didn't feel like it impacted the number of bites that I got. I threw that on an Ardent Apex Elite. This was a 6:3 to 1, a little bit lower gear ratio. And the other bait that I threw it on, I do want to mention, on day 3, they quit biting this for me a little bit, and I pulled out a chartreuse garlic marker, and I touched up the tail, and it seemed like immediately I caught bite. I think the first thing I caught was like a 15, 18-pound striper, but then I caught 3 fish pretty quick on that, and that was just a real subtle change that I made, and I don't know if that's what tipped them off, but it gave me the confidence that I needed to continue catching fish that day and cull up to almost 14 pounds, which they wrecked them on day 2, so 14 pounds kind of got laughed at, but I felt good about it. The other bait I was throwing, I got a different colored jerkbait on here now, but I was throwing a bone colored jerkbait. It was a stained reaction with an orange belly. So it was bone colored, it had an orange belly to it, and it was a 110 plus. It was deeper diver, and those don't cast as good. The bill's bigger and they catch wind, they kind of flare out on you, but they get down a little bit deeper. I was working that bait relatively slow, not real fast. I was throwing it on 12-pound line. This is a Kistler KLX model. This is the Blade Buzz chatterbait rod. It's a small diameter blank. It's got a whole lot of play. It doesn't ever pull the hooks out. So I really like that as an alternative. Maybe the KLX filling reel is another really good option for a jerk bait. Always got my treble hook baits in my bait sack as always, but this is a 7-foot medium heavy Blade Buzz chatterbait rod. Again, this is Apex Elite by Ardent. 6:3 to 1 gear ratio, 12-pound fluorocarbon in Vizex. Man, I had my first top 10, sitting in 10th on day 1. I made a mistake on day 2 and fell to 16th, and then on day 3, thought I caught him pretty good, almost 14 pounds, but I fell to 21st. So nevertheless, cut a check and super excited about it, building up some momentum. I moved up to 69th in points. It looks like maybe the top 43 guys might get into the Wood Cup this year. We got a lot of guys that have already pre-qualified that are kind of in there and might double qualify. So I'm within reach of hitting the Wood Cup, and that's just a dream of mine. That'd be so freaking awesome. So I just got to have next couple of tournaments got to go pretty good, And we got 3 left. We got Lewis Smith Lake's the next stop. Then we got Kentucky Lake. And then we got Lake St. Clair up north in Detroit, Michigan. So if I can do well in all 3 of those, I honestly feel I can make a run for the Forest Wood Cup. So pretty excited about that. And thanks for watching, and on to the next stop.